Hi, this is Dr. Steve Graves from the California State University at Northridge, Geography and Environmental Studies Department. This is a video tutorial to help students learn one way to calculate a carbon footprint for commuters in a university or some kind of organization. What we have is a spreadsheet of residential points on a map for a group of commuters over a period of 20 years. There were 3 collections of data, a representative sample of students, and what we have here are the distances they drive, which was calculated from their address, which are anonymously here recorded. There's a column just to randomize the variables, and then a systematic sample as well. We ask people in general, what kind of car do you drive if you drive? Do you drive by yourself? Do you carpool? Do you take public transportation? Or do you not commute because you're mostly online? And what is your role as a student, faculty, or administration on campus, or staff? And then how many days a week do you come to campus? Anywhere from 1 to 5 days were recorded. Each of these columns are associated with numerical values that appear in subsequent sheets. So here's days, unformatted, role, the kind of car, also not formatted, and the mode in which they get back and forth to school. Here's a sheet of instructions, and here is a link to reading that students should do. Okay, so what I'm going to show you how to do is to connect the columns of data that we have, M through N, to the various tables of data that we have on the tabs at the bottom. Let's start by typing in mileage. The mileage column will give us an indication of the fuel efficiency of each of these types of cars. They're not necessarily the make and model, but a category. So type in equals and VLOOKUP. And that is the command that we're going to be using frequently. It's not the only command that can do this, but it is a worthwhile one to learn. Click on GMC here in cell M2. Notice that it doesn't give us a cell reference because these data blocks are formatted as tables, which is a special kind of spreadsheet formation in Excel. Then type comma and come over to the car tab, click on it, and then highlight cell C1 through whatever it is, D18, and then press comma again and type a 2 and then type false. Close parentheses, press enter. That command VLOOKUP goes and looks up the values in column N from the car tab, column C, returns the value associated with it from column D. And so the abbreviation GMC is for gas mid-sized car, and it has a 33.1 miles per gallon average. And if we come back to the master file, we should see that mileage reflected right there. So we're going to do a series of those VLOOKUP commands, the next of which we will do is weeks, and weeks refers to the number of weeks that each of these employees are likely to drive based on our survey results. Once again, type in VLOOKUP. This time, highlight the role. Students tend to come to campus somewhere in the range of 32 weeks a semester, press comma, click on roll, highlight the entire data block, the entire table, because we only have 2 columns. Once again, enter a comma, then a 2, so it returns the value from column 2, comma again, and type in false because we want an exact match. Press enter. And there we see that all the students have 32, and down at the bottom we see some of the staff and administrator coming to campus 48 or 50 weeks out of a year. The next of the columns we will add is commutes, and that is our way of asking or finding out how many days a week the people arrive. Type in equals VLOOKUP, click in days column, which is P1, comma, and then we want to click on the days table. The days table is not, or the days worksheet is not formatted as a table. So this is a bit of a problem, and what I want you to do is to highlight it. Notice nothing's happening, so what we have to do is escape out and stop for a moment, and let's format this as a table. Highlight this, click on format as a table, and of course we're on the home tab, and then pick out a design. This one's fine. It will recognize that you've already highlighted the cell block and click OK. What happens here is that the software treats worksheets that are designed as a table differently. It automates a lot of the tasks that you have to do. So let's come back over here to master. Once again, go into VLOOKUP, select once again 5, then comma, then days, then highlight, then comma 2, comma false. Notice that we have a problem here with the 2. Something is wrong, and if we come over here to days, maybe we find that the 2 doesn't appear to be wrong, but if I press the key F2 to put myself into edit mode, notice that the TWO has a space afterwards, and that makes it very difficult when we're looking for an exact match. So just delete that space, then come back over to your master roster and notice that, oh, the 2s are fixed, but there is a problem with 0 days. Once again, let's fix that up by noting that we have the word online rather than 0. So type in 0 with no space and press enter. Go once again back to your master and note that all of the cells now are repaired and in good working order. I always like to show a little troubleshooting in my videos. We're going to use VLOOKUP one more time and type in modality, which is how people get back and forth to work. Type in VLOOKUP once again, and this time select column N for drive, comma, go to the mode tab, highlight the block of data, comma, 2, comma, false, enter. And there is the modality. And what this is, a mathematical operator that will multiply the data either by zeros, ones, fractions, in order to account for the different ways or modes that people get back and forth to campus. All right, so now we're going to slip into the calculations part. The first calculation will be the daily miles that are driven. So type in D miles for daily, and then of course we're going to do weekly miles and yearly miles. The daily miles are pretty simple. All we're going to do is ask it to use the distance value in J. That's the distance between the home and our university, and we're just going to multiply that by 2. Press enter, and these are the daily miles, which is a round trip. The second thing we're going to do is to get weekly miles, we will multiply the daily miles times the number of commutes, which is in column S. Hit enter. The third thing to do is to multiply the number of weeks, which is in column R, by the weekly miles to get a total yearly commute distance. Next, we're going to calculate the daily, weekly, and yearly gallons of gas. And you can see that I've typed in dgal, wgal, and ygal for daily, weekly, and yearly gallons of gas. The easy part of this formula is to divide daily miles by the mileage of the car, which is column U divided by column Q. But the second thing we need to do is to multiply that by the modality. And for drivers, that's 1. But for people who walk or take a bus or something to that effect, then that will reduce the effect by cutting it in half or nearly eliminating it. So it's miles divided by mileage multiplied by modality. We can do that once again, or dividing the weekly miles by the mileage and then multiplying it by modality. Repeat that once again for yearly gallons. The final columns are about the CO2 or carbon dioxide. So we know how many gallons of gas that we have, and we have to multiply the total number of gallons of gas that we're using by a constant, which is 19.64, which is the average pounds of CO2 that is created by 1 gallon of burnt fuel, gasoline in this case. So I've entered the new column headers, daily, weekly, and yearly CO2, and it's just a matter of multiplying each of the values in column X, Y, and Z by 19.64. And there you have it. It's a table. It's super useful until you put it in a pivot table. And so click somewhere in Data Block, click Insert, click Pivot Table, click OK. A new worksheet will appear, and on that worksheet, a really cool thing to do this is to take a look at how each department did in each year of the survey. So in order to do that, grab year and drag it down into the rows box, then grab department and drag it also to the rows department underneath. Then you can scroll to the bottom and grab yearly CO2 and put it there. There's the sum, and perhaps we could grab department once again and put it underneath, which is the count of department. This gives us an indication of the total CO2 by department, by year, and if we wanted to do a quick average, highlight this, copy it, move over here a few columns and paste as values, widen it, and then divide the sum of yearly CO2 by the number of people in the survey. Copy and paste all the way down, and there you have an average. If you wanted to do some conditional formatting, go with color scales and perhaps red for the high values and green for the low values. But that's it. You are to submit some version of this to your instructor for credit.